Welcome to Russell Jones Speaks, where we explore big issues that matter to parents, grandparents, and kids. We tackle intergenerational issues. Everything that affects parents, grands, and children is on the table. That includes health and fitness, relationships, attitude, family unity, vision, adversity, God, and anything else that might arise. The goal is for you to take away something that you can use in your life immediately. So, my guest today is Helene Neville, arguably one of the greatest athletes of all time. What she accomplished back in 2010 got my attention. Running a full 26 and 2/10 mile marathon every day for 93 days in a row, from the Pacific Ocean in California to the Atlantic Ocean in Florida, taking the southern route across the United States in the summertime at age 49 after surviving years of treatments for cancer. And all along the way, Helene gave speaking presentations and visited hospitals. Of course, I want to know how she prepared and what she ate. But more importantly, I want to know her mindset through it all, because her story is still very much alive. So, welcome, Helene.
Hi, it's great to see you after almost 10 years when I stayed at
Yeah, I
your
was going to
home.
say, yeah, I was going to say something silly like, remember when we lived together, but it was only for 2 nights and my whole family was with us.
That was a
But
great 2 nights and great food, I remember.
that's right. Yes, Lynn can cook. But anyway, so yeah, let's just, for folks that don't know you and haven't followed your career, let's just go through the early years. Family growing up in Pensy, sports life, that sort of thing.
Okay. Um, I'm one of six to a single mom who was amazing and wonderful and beautiful. Went to moved to Vermont for high school, and that's where I kind of came on the scene with running, but it was sprinting and middle distance. And then went to Iowa State, ran track for a semester, and fell in love. And
All right.
kids, and really didn't run. I coached. I've been a nurse for 40 years, and when I was approaching 50, um, I guess when I was 49, May 1st, I left Ocean Beach, California, and without a plan. I just wanted to run across America with my first book, Nurses in Shape, to inspire nurses. But one of the big reasons was to I was suffering so much from grief or with grief about losing my mom in 2002. And then I had empty nest syndrome. You know what that is.
Yeah, but wait,
And
wait. Let me just pause for a second. Before we get to the big run or anything like that, I kind of wanted to go through before even your mom passing. I wanted to talk about. I kind of remember you talking about at one point your diagnosis during your 40s, and then you're looking at your sons and what you were going through at that point.
I was 33,
Oh,
diagnosed
okay,
with,
you're young yet.
yeah, Hodgkin's lymphoma. And it was stage one, but it ended up abscessing in my brain, which resulted in three brain surgeries over from 93 to, I think, 1997 was my last surgery. And
Mm.
I was fine after that. Then I, of course, became sick again. And I took on all kinds of things: mountain climbing, bodybuilding, running. Just my head hurt so much mostly. And didn't
Right,
want my
right,
sons to remember me in the hospital, remember me just going out and living every day and trying to do things that people said couldn't be done. Just wanted to be an example that of rethinking impossible, that you can have hope all you want, but unless you put action behind it, you're not going to get very far. And
right.
that's what
Agreed.
kind of motivated me.
Yeah, and then okay, then your mom passes, and now you're grieving. Obviously, your mom had a really special place because she had to do it all alone. How many siblings did you have?
There's six of us, so five
Six.
siblings.
Yeah. So, um, and then you make this. I don't even know where it could have come from, like the why. Okay, you've been running a bit, but now all of a sudden you come up with this idea to run across the country. Like, well, how did that happen? Where were you? Did you just like pop out of bed one morning and say, "Hey, I'm going to do this"?
In 2009, I went back to Iowa where my father was still alive, still living, and it was just awful. I realized then it was still so much real consuming my heart and my mind, the grief of losing my mom. And I mean, she was 68. I'm getting up there in age, and I just couldn't
I know I'm not
wait.
supposed to ask a woman's age, but at a certain point, it's okay, I think.
I think my age is out there. I'm 63.
Okay.
And
Still kind of young in my world, but that's okay.
yeah. And then being a patient, the other side of the bed from nursing, it seemed like they were very unhealthy, and I wanted to write a book, and I came up with this idea to run across America and stop at every hospital and promote fitness, and at the same time try to reconnect with my mom's spirit, trying to find her. And it didn't matter what the weather was, which was very, very hot. No one had ever run the southern route in the summer. There's a good reason. And I mean, it was very
I
hot,
believe.
but I didn't think about the whole picture. I just thought, I'm going to give it a go and see where I get, how
Hmm.
far I could get. And it happened to be Florida. Um,
Yes.
I don't know.
It's
I
like a
had faith.
Forrest Gump, a real life Forrest Gump experience.
Yeah, one would say that. I the whole time, Russ, I believed. I just believed I could do it, and I believed I would be safe. It was a wonderful experience seeing our country and our people up close and personal, in the
Yeah, and you wrote
trenches.
about that.
I did.
Yeah, yeah. And,
Um,
I mean, through
I,
all of your journeys, you talked about the people along the way, the people that came alongside you, like regular folks that just
absolutely.
especially and again, especially today, with
Right.
all the negativity and stuff going on in the world, it's just it's always very refreshing to get around just regular folks that are caring and loving and trying to be the best they can be for their families. So that's good
Absolutely.
stuff.
Because I grew up like that. My mom, when our father left, I think I was 5, and so my mom was like 31 or 32 with 6 kids. The youngest was a week old, or a month old, I guess, and he left and never came back. And that's, well, at that time, it was kind of taboo to be forced to be a single parent, but she pulled it off with grace. And I didn't want sponsors for my run. I didn't seek, well, I did once, but, and I didn't get a sponsorship. That's in the book. I'm not going to tell the story. Um, and I just didn't want anybody to dictate where my run was going to be. I did not go through lily white America. I went through the roughest of the rough areas, and loved every minute of it. And, sometimes people that have had more than their fair share of devastation, destruction, poverty, they are sometimes the ones that give the most. And I was welcomed into homes. And so I feel like I proved that run or exposed the goodness of in people and how beautiful humanity is. And I finished that run and really didn't had thoughts about running again, but then my brother passed away. He was 56, and I knew I was running again because he always wanted to travel, and I said he's going to go with me, and I put his 26-pound
All
urn
right.
in my backpack and took off. That time was Canada to Mexico. He
Nice.
served at your house
He
in
Yeah,
2014.
that was like, the poorest of the poor. You stayed at our house. That's good.
So
But we had good food, and I had to scour the neighborhood for some beverages and stuff, so
we had great food, all protein. You know, and
right.
Lynn knows.
We
But
did.
one of my favorite memories throughout the whole country was running through Manhattan with your son and then Jack, his friend, sprinting
That was
through
my
the.
nephew. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was your nephew.
Yeah. He's actually
It
serving in
was.
the Navy now. He's in Europe. He's serving. Jack is he's
Oh
had a
wow,
great career. Yeah. He's doing
we
he's
had
doing
so
very
much
well.
fun, and that was one of my most memorable times.
All right, so I have to ask this question. So just imagine for a second that I am not 71, but I'm 51, and I never really had to deal with cancer or anything like that. But I got some dings. I had motorcycle
Right,
crash, multiple surgeries to multiple limbs, all these things, and I hear your story, and I mean, we lost a child when back in '87, and I want to deal with my grief like you dealt with yours. So I come
right.
to you. I say, Helene, can you? I want to do what you did. So teach me how. What would you? What would be the big picture? What would you say to me?
I think I would say um, have faith versus having fear, and just believe that it can be done. We don't know until we give it a go. People say
Hmm.
this can't be done, that can't be done. Well, how come? Yeah, and if you believe in your heart that you can do it, probably could. So why not give it a go? And every day there's going to be a reason to quit. Every single day, whether
Right.
you're tired, you're sick, you run out of money, whatever, you can't find a place to stay. There's lots of things. The health issue, and I wouldn't quit. I didn't want to quit because some people expected that.
How like how many months out or years out did you start training for that first real big one?
That day on Thanksgiving, November of 2009, and that very day I went out. I was in Iowa and just picked the route of 6 miles and ran it a couple times. And I don't know how I came up with the idea. And so I trained from basically November to May 1st. So
Okay.
6 months, 7 months.
Okay. So all right. So okay. So what do I do next? Okay. I believe. I believe I can do it. I'm willing to take that first step. Like, okay, what does a day look like for me? What do I have to do?
Hmm, that's a good question because, we have to work. So I
Uh
took a
huh.
travel nurse job for working double shifts on the weekend, 16-hour Saturday, 16-hour Sunday, which left 5 days to train. And when I went to work, it was maybe eight, I think it was actually 8 miles from where I was living. And I ran to work wearing a 30-pound weight vest.
Oh
Was
my
worked
gosh.
for 16 hours and ran home 2 days. And then the other 5 days, that's when I started with Evo 14 years ago. And they believed in me and I believed in myself. And I just,
So
I don't
okay.
know,
So
quitting and
give
failing
everybody a
is,
taste of. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
So give me. All right. So okay. So you mentioned Evo. Everybody listen. Not many people have heard of it
Right,
since it's
right.
since it's off the grid. Only a select few people have been able to experience it,
Right.
versus the whole sports, sports world. But what happened there? I know. I'm not even sure how you met Jay Schroeder. But how did that come about in Arizona?
I was actually training in the gym where they leased a big room for Evo, and
Oh,
I was having trouble with my hips. I felt like I could do the run, but I thought I would probably have to have two hip replacements after.
uh,
And I wasn't sure if it was from the weight vest I was wearing. I wore that all the time, no matter what I did. The guy at the gym said, "Hey, let me introduce you to these guys, and they'll fix you right up." And I felt like GI Jane. They put me through extreme exercises that these pro athletes were doing, Olympic athletes, prodigies, and then there's me.
here you go.
Yeah, I I loved it, and then they offered to help me, and I went every single day, twice a day actually, and I didn't run until May 1st, the first day of my run. Never ran after I met Jay. It was all,
Really?
yeah, they you're in these holds of these extreme positions and to fire up and transfer the load that you normally would or people do put on their hip or their joints, ligaments, tendons, and transfer it to your muscles. And it was unbelievable what they put me through. The same thing as
So, all right, so I have some experience with Jay's programs. I mean, Jay's been awesome. For me, I met him in, I think it was around 2005 up in Minnesota, when he was working up there,
right. Yeah,
helping
that's
out.
right.
And so I got to spend a little time with him. Since then, well, then I hosted him in Jersey. Him and Dennis Thompson came to Jersey, um, but yeah, it's totally allowed me at this age to still do the strongman stuff. I totally believe that, without Jay's programs and stuff, that wouldn't be happening right now. But but
Absolutely.
give people an idea. You're in a position, all right. With, I know there's a lot of cues, like, but people could relate to a lunge, right? They could say,
Yes.
all right, but Jay's version of a lunge is probably different what most people think a lunge is. But okay, so you're in a position and you're there for time. So how much time are you spending in a lunge?
It depends on what we're doing that day, whatever the protocol is. It could be multiple reps, but you could be in a lunge for 5 minutes, an extreme lunge. And I met your son there, and that's how we kind of connected. And um, he can tell you it was pretty tough. And we trained a little bit side by side, actually hiked too together, but
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
a wall squat, 5 minutes, but it's not the typical, like the lunge. You are anatomically correct. You are in the correct position, where it's all kind of perpendicular, parallel to the floor, and it is all about physics, really, and your muscles are fired up. Like I've seen people walk out of there and puke in the trash can, like big Division 1 athletes, or cry. And I wasn't going to
Right.
be like that. We had one exercise against the wall, holding a 45-pound Olympic bar straight out for 5 minutes. That's when I thought, I think this is a bunch of bull crap. I think trying to, I think just trying to like kick my ass and so I won't come back. But I'm going to come back every day. And or we'd sit on the bench, actually the bench press, holding the bar in the air for
Hmm.
slow, lowering it over a couple minutes. It's unbelievable. I remember Tim Hightower. He was a fantastic football player. We became friends. I think he was a running back for the for Washington or somebody. And
Hmm.
when he played for the Cardinals, he was practically drug tested every other day because they couldn't believe how fast he got, how strong he got. And he's like, I only lift 5-pound dumbbells, or which is
Right,
what we
right.
do. And it's really unbelievable. That's how my longevity has stayed with me. I'm certain of that. And everything we did was extreme. I still go.
So, but wait, help me with this. So, like, there was a point where, and it probably comes sooner for somebody like me than you, where you start to object and you say, okay, this position or doing it this way is just ridiculous. I mean, this is the discomfort, pain, whatever. I mean, it's just not. And you know, you just talk yourself out of it, but you didn't. You didn't allow that to happen. Like, uh, just yeah. Take me to, like, you know, what are you thinking about for 5 minutes doing something? And there's no, from what I understand, there's no music, there's no
Oh, nothing.
conversation really, or anything like that, right? It's just you and
Just
yourself.
regimented. You can't wear headgear. You can't wear a hat, headband, because they don't want anything blocking that mental energy that's giving. They didn't touch you very much. You can't talk, and it's you don't want to ask questions either. It's wonderful, and what kept me going was I'm standing alongside the best hockey player in the NHL, the best long snapper on the 49ers, the best, an Olympic gold medalist from Jamaica. And I was like, if they are going to do it, I'm doing it too. And the other thing is, because I've been in healthcare for 40 years and coaching, I knew it was based on science. I knew Jay researched for decades, and he's always still perfecting what he teaches. And
Hmm.
that's what I wanted, something based on science. And then if you think about it, our body, we're like a lever system. And
Right.
you can target train one particular area by the way you're holding whatever it is, the dumbbell or bar, and however you're lifting that, it is going to target the glutes or your delts or something. It's there's no way I would have made those runs without that help. Well, combined with my mental power.
Right. But I think that just from what you're describing, though, I think that the type of training fed into, like, building mental power, right? I mean, you know, obviously you had a strong why, you had a strong will to do this, but I think, just to get through the training probably fed into that strength, right?
Absolutely. It only makes sense. In training, you're trying to fire up your muscles to bear this load of whatever exercise you're going through, because that's what we're meant to do. These muscles are huge. But if you're not using them 100%, then somewhere that load's being transferred to your knees or shoulders or hips, and therefore, people are injured or they are not in the sport very long. And I
Right.
understood that. It's and it was really tough to do a lunge for 30 seconds switch, 30 seconds, I don't know how many times, a million. And at the
Right.
beginning, because I was pretty strong, but after there, and I thought I knew a lot, but I realized going to Evo, I didn't know a damn thing.
Yes, Jay's system is humbling. I mean, I like started personal training people in like 1984, and I didn't run into Jay in 2005. And it was like, and it's still
Mhm.
trying to unlearn everything I thought I knew.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
right. And it is an experience. So, okay. So you're going through this training, and what's your sleep and your eating like at this point? Getting ready for the big run.
Great, yeah, great question. When I first started at Evo, they're like, we want you to eat bacon, drink a shot of olive oil every morning, 6 raw eggs, a steak, and I'm like, that will never happen. I eat fish and chicken. I didn't even eat red meat. And then they're like, okay, Charles, who is Jay's number one trainer, he implements
Right.
the protocols Jay writes up. But Charles said, okay, well, we'll see. And in 3 days, I was craving a steak because the red meat is what helps you repair the bone marrow, the blood vessels, everything you need for energy. And that protein is really what drives you, not carbs. And so every single day during training and each run, I ate a steak. You cooked me one, and or
Oh,
your wife did, and bacon.
oh
Um,
yeah. No, I there was a book a couple of years ago about called The Sacred Cow, and it was
yeah,
documentary. They made a documentary out of it, and when you really understand how the good Lord made a cow with the two stomachs and
right.
what that one animal provides is just it's just
I
amazing.
know
It's just
it
amazing.
is amazing,
But like you
truly
said,
amazing.
after hard work, there is nothing like, a steak, or, something like that. And it's just such a hard sell in for a lot of people because of, conventional wisdom, which usually isn't very wise, but,
And
and
Western medicine.
yeah, yeah. So, okay, so what was your sleep like? Were you able to sleep okay, or like you
I
slept well?
like a
How many
baby.
hours?
Mm,
Okay.
well, during the run, I slept till I woke up because it was going to be light for a long time, many hours each day. And
Hmm.
whatever your perspective is of hot heat and being hot, doesn't matter
Yeah.
if it's 100 degrees or 113. If hot is hot, it's going to be hot. So I didn't care if I
Right.
started at 10, unless I had a speed plan. The most important thing was eating for recovery and strength and sleep. And so
Hmm.
that's what I did. Some days we started at noon or 1 o'clock because I needed that sleep. And I was
Right.
good to go. Every day I had energy. I think I proved Jay's whole philosophy. If you go to
Oh yeah.
a marathon and you go to the finish line of a marathon, everybody's limping. Well, not everybody, most everybody, except the elite
Right.
runners. People have ice wrapped around their knees. They have to take a week off of work every day for 93 days. And I got faster, stronger, not one injury. And it was because my muscles were fired up. They were ready to handle this extreme running every day and eating for recovery. And I say about, the whole art and the WIT POV, you're familiar with that. I think you have one.
Sure.
That that you'll never see that at the doctor's office. You'll never hear of J's because there's no profit in cures. And so
Right.
therefore we don't hear about it. But every single
Right.
person I stayed with heard about it, and a lot of them became clients at Evo. And I think I used the
Right.
art on all my host family and their dogs.
Right. So just talk about that for a second, because you're going through all this stuff, and you did your runs. Now you had a couple of bouts, right? With it was a new cancer, I guess, that came on you a few years
2020
ago.
was, yeah, 20 October of 2020 I collapsed, and that was stage 4 with metastasis to liver, spleen, bones, and they didn't think I'd live 8 weeks. And
Right. I was following that. I
Yeah, I
was like,
know.
oh
I
boy,
appreciate
this is
that
it.
very much.
But
That was,
but anyway, but the I guess the reason I was I brought it up was because you know all these years now since you started with the coach with Jay, um, it's been well at least 14 years, I'm guessing.
14. Yeah,
And okay, so the trust you've had that I'm seeing from the outside. Okay, you have a lot of us compartmentalize the people in our lives that help us out, and so most people would once they got sick, they wouldn't think about a performance training coach um, to still look to, right. You
yeah.
would probably think more just medical, save my life. But it sounds like, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just hearing it and seeing it wrong, but you developed this trust in Jay and his system and Charles, that kind of went beyond just getting ready to run across the country.
I, I am so glad you asked that. That you are so right. It's not just a coach get you in shape to win the MVP of the NHL or NFL. They are there totally immersed in mental because mental makes a difference. And even though Jay maybe says a couple words, I would call or email, and he would send back like, "Just be the wind." When if I would write him say, "Jay, the wind is really tough. I don't know," and he's like, "You be the wind," and that's it.
Right.
That went
Pull
on
the
for
Bruce
about,
Lee on you.
yeah, I know, or like Yoda, unbelievable, and very little few words that motivated me, and it's like reset my brain because that's the big part of Evo. I've called them when I was sick, of course, and going through a divorce, whatever was going on. I usually called them first because they
Yeah.
they just knew what to say.
Yeah.
It's really incredible what happens at
But
Evo.
they didn't sugarcoat it, right? It wasn't like, oh,
No way. Uh-uh.
they didn't sugarcoat it. And
No,
it,
and they don't
and
hold
I
your
think a lot
hand.
of times, I
Sorry.
think that's misinterpreted, right? A lot of times
Yes,
when people don't sugarcoat things, that they're, insensitive, but I think, a lot of times we just need to hear something straight up, and then we have to decide whether we're going to act on it, right?
I know. I When I was trying to finish Alaska, and it was very tough. The Dalton Highway, the
Oh
third
gosh.
worst road in the world, and I
What was
wrote
that thing you told me about the Dalton Highway? You were going what degree uphill for how many
oh,
miles?
practically 305 miles. There was hills up to 20th grade. It was unbelievable, unbelievable.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
I would write Jay and say, "Oh, "Gosh, this is so difficult. Now I know why no one's ever tried it." He would just write back, since I carried my brother everywhere as the urn with his ashes and spread them everywhere, including your backyard. And
There you
um,
go.
he would write and said, "Take your brother home. Get your brother home." That's it. They're not going to hold your hand. And
Right.
like lots of people go in there and want to be trained, and a lot are turned away because you have to have that right mindset. And I don't
Mm.
want to be. I don't want my hand held and walk through something. I want to do it. But they were truly a big part. In my book coming out about the entire run, Jay wrote the foreword to it. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I read that. It
Oh,
it
that's right. I
is.
sent it to you.
It's worth the price of admission. But yeah, it was very
Absolutely.
good. So
Absolutely.
yeah, back to Jay just briefly.
Uh-huh.
I He's got this acronym called PIPES, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you're familiar with. for people who aren't familiar with it, and I actually wrote about it in this kids course we did. He talks about things being physical, intellectual, psychological, emotional, and spiritual, and that you know he takes a holistic, not in a sense of some kind of hip way of expressing things, holistic. He takes it being a human, he sees the whole picture, and the training, um, the way he teaches it, the way I've understood it, involves all those aspects. So, um, what like in terms of your experiences, was there like what was a spiritual component? If I'm not prying too much or whatever, I mean, if I am, you can just kind of whatever say. But like while you're holding these positions, while you're out on the road, one foot in front of the other for days and weeks, like what was that like? What was, I know, you're dedicated, your mom, your brother, those aspects, but like what kind of connection was made there to your spiritual side?
Several things. I wanted to be an example for others. If they knew my story and saw me out there, and maybe they would think, wow, if she could do that after all she's been through, what could I do? What more could I do? And then the
Hmm.
other thing was, I had so much grief and despair, and just I was lost. I didn't get lost during my runs. I went running because I was lost, and
Hmm.
I just wanted to find a way to fix all that. And so I didn't think about much out there as I was running, other than grief, and but the running part was not nearly as difficult as the grief I suffer from, or despair, or just plain suffering. And maybe that's why I was able to be vulnerable with everyone I met, and then they were able to be vulnerable back with me and trusted me and had faith. My granddaughter, when we talk about my run, she's like, wait, let me get this straight. She's 10, going on 30. And she's like, Grandma, you stayed in people's homes you didn't know? And I did. I said, what?
That's
And then she's like, have you ever heard of stranger danger? And then she
that's
tells
funny.
all her little squirrely friends, Grandma's seen people's houses she didn't even know. And so it takes
Yes.
little kids to sum this up. And but it was
Yeah.
really beautiful, the whole display, like I said, of humanity, and people just believed, and they are struggling, but they were so happy that I acknowledged and showed up. I basically showed up.
Oh
Everybody
yeah.
wants a
That's it.
connection.
I think after my just reflecting back too. I mean, after we were grieving my son, his
Right.
death when back in '87, it was, and I wrote about it in one of my books about dealing with grief, because I thought, because I'm that type of person, I try to be there for everybody, keep everything under control,
Yeah,
whatever,
pretty much.
and
That's you.
excuse me.
That's you. I love that about you.
Yeah. And so, but then, physically, a couple of months into it, like my body just started freaking out, like just in ways, it's beyond the scope of this conversation, but just freaking out. So, people say they, go to the doctor, and they put me on some kind of, depression medication thing or something. And I was so reluctant because I don't like taking any kind of drugs, and I took it for one day, and they served a great purpose because that I threw them out the next day, but then I committed to learning about grief at a deeper level because I had, I mean, you have a grandparent pass away, or a great grandparent, whatever, and you go to a funeral. That's one thing, but you know, when it's somebody that's just that you're that close with and connected with, passes, and So I really had to get into it, and I had to come up with like I think it was 10 steps, like 10 daily things that I needed to address to work my way out of it. And that, grief, you had to spend a season of grief. There was no avoiding it. I mean, in my mind, I gave it a year. And, and I was going to not, I was going to embrace people's memory. And, but after that, God just blessed me to be able to just like compartmentalize it. And I can take it out, if I want to, but it's not with me there. It's not with me every day. But I think, like your experience, with your family and your brothers and being out and your brother and being out there on the road, that's a little bit more than my 10-step daily program to deal with grief.
It was 9 years running.
Yeah.
I thought I could run away from grief, and I can't. And what I learned was that I have to let go of the suffering and not the grief itself, just suffering from it. And I wasn't.
Right.
Can you hold on? Somebody's knocking. Hold on for a second.
Sure.
Uh,
Go. Okay. We're back.
we're back.
Yeah. So you're holding on, just recognizing grief and how, you had to ultimately deal with it. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about, now I saw your last run. I was following it online. Anybody that doesn't know, you should just look up Helene's last run, the Thanksgiving run, a marathon in New York City, and then another one at the end of on Thanksgiving, and the other one at the end of the day over the Golden Gate Bridge. And you explained uh, how difficult restarting after the flight uh, out west, but I always, but I don't know. And again, I'm just following you on social media, but the smile is always there. And I can't even imagine what you're feeling like, trying to run over the Golden Gate Bridge after the day you had. But tell me about that. Did you have to work on that, or are you just always a smiling person?
Always smiling, pretty much.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but I started on the West Coast first, the Golden Gate, because I flipped them.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry. I had it
Yeah,
backwards.
and I thought because the Brooklyn Bridge was going to be so hard, it has a little not bank, it has a little incline, and it was wooden, but that was probably not the right thing to do. So I did the Golden Gate. Oh my God, it was so hard. It's concrete. I've been over it before. I just didn't remember that it was that difficult. And it literally goes up and down, but there was a team of people that showed up and helped, and it was wonderful.
Hmm.
I was an hour later than I predicted, and we had to literally race to the airport. I was still in my little red, white, and blue outfit going through
Of
security.
course. We've seen that before.
I know, right? And then the flight to New York City, and when we landed at, I think, 11 p.m. maybe, and I wanted to do
Hmm.
a marathon on each bridge, each different coast in 24 hours, including the travel time. And we
Right.
landed in New York. A friend of mine, Brad, went with me. He did the whole thing with me. Well, not the running. Um, I said, Brad, I can't walk. I could not walk. I thought I tore an ACL, or I wasn't sure, and I had to get a wheelchair before the Brooklyn Bridge. It was late, and
Wow.
there weren't wheelchairs, so I just hobbled, and we get to the bridge about midnight, and I had till maybe 8 or 8:30 that next morning to finish within 24 hours. And I crawled. It was very difficult, and
Hmm.
but I wasn't. I wanted. It might be the first time where I didn't think I was going to make it, or I for 3 years or 2 years, 2.5 years, I was in bed trying to save my life,
Yeah.
and
Right.
what
Right.
what prompted me to do the bridges, like kind of created the run, my oncologist has terminal cancer, and then I went through survivor's guilt. It was pretty tough around like the fall, September,
Hmm.
and I just wanted to change places with him because he's just turned 39, expecting a baby. It was
Oh
awful.
Lord.
And so I named it the Bridges of Hope. And I was able to raise money to give about $3,000 from everybody that helped me to give
Mm-hmm.
to their fund, their fundraising or crowdfunding, whatever it is. And that made me really, I felt so proud of all of us. Like we did that, gave them some
Right.
hope. And that's why I did it. I wasn't sure if I could do it, but it was kind of my comeback. But
Yeah. She's back.
that's one way to have a comeback, right?
Sure. So, okay, a couple of more things I just want to touch on. I'm trying to be respectful of time today because I know I'm going to talk about what you're just launching, but um, so give me your views on medicine today, especially regarding cancer. Like I said earlier, there's just, I mean, cancer with young people, like I had never heard of before, that just seems to be popping up everywhere. Um, like I know, you got some awesome doctors, but I mean, did you just do traditional treatments? Did you add in alternative things? What other things did you do to support your healing through the whole thing?
I well, of course, I went Western medicine, the whole chemo. The If it wasn't going to kill me, it was going to save me, and it did. Um,
Right.
I didn't do what a lot of people try to do. I'm going to run. I'm going to go to the gym. I literally was in bed, and I kind of visualizing this poison saving me, going through my body. I did nothing. And for me, that worked. And
Hmm.
it was, I couldn't even walk down steps without help. I was so weak. And, but
But
I don't know.
you had such a strong foundation, right? I mean, with all your years of training and everything. So your body, your systems and everything were probably in way better shape than the average person, right? Going into something like that.
Right. I didn't meditate per se, but I visualized going through my body and taking a bazooka and shooting all my cancer cells. And
Hmm.
that's kind of what happened. But it was
Wow.
pretty difficult to go through, to have to do my will. All of that was to get your affairs in order, kind of thing. And that
Right.
was pretty grueling for me.
Hmm.
I just wanted to be alive long enough to finish my books, um, teach my grandkids how to drive, something, just different things.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
everything aside because I was too afraid to do all those things, thinking if I finished, then my little wishes to the genie, they would be over, and maybe my life would be over. So it's all a mental game. The traditional medicine route, and being a nurse, that's what I work in. However, um, through the cancer hurts, but you
Hmm.
don't see it necessarily. I've been to the different ERs where they don't believe me because maybe I smile or I'm talkative or I don't look sick, even though I don't have any hair and my chart obviously says I'm very sick. Um, People didn't believe, question you, your
Hmm.
drugs here. And so I turned to medical marijuana. Uh, I'm such a lightweight. I maybe do a puff or whatever you call it, a hit at night, maybe two
Right.
little ones, but I have to have everything done. So because after I can't function, like I jump in
Right.
bed. And
Yeah.
then they question that. But doing that, it actually helped with depression. and my neuropathy from the chemo itself and the pain. And then I realized, for 40 years, if I work long-term care or skilled care for elderly or anybody in a nursing home,
Hmm.
so they're taking 50 plus pills every morning. That's why nurses are so overworked, because it takes us the whole time to pass these meds and then chart. And it's like, why don't we just have a bong at every nurse's station and all the patients just pull up in their wheelchair and get it? So that's what I believe. I just, they
uh,
take a pill for whatever it is that their ailment, and then 10 pills side effect of that one pill. I'm not on board with any of that. Not at all.
right.
Even before I used the medical marijuana, I was, no, not on board with it. I don't believe there's so many
We have
other
a
modalities.
right. We have a neighbor. She's been stage 4. She was supposed to be gone. I don't know how many months ago. I forget. I can't even pronounce the name of the cancer she's got. Um, but they do traditional medicine. They're in an experimental chemo thing now. But this last, I mean, we've known her for a few years. We've lived here, and she gets vitamin C infusions,
Uh-huh, I
and
did that. Yeah.
it just seemed that her, like, after her chemo days, it just made those days a whole lot easier on her and stuff and all. But I don't think they offer that in the regular hospital, right? Or
No,
do they?
it's not covered. It's sort of pricey.
Right.
I've done that. I did hyperbaric, um,
Hmm.
colonics, ozone therapy. I've done all of those different
Hmm.
non-traditional. None of it's
Right.
covered.
Right.
It's very expensive. And juicing,
Now, what about?
everything.
Okay. Oh, you did juicing too. What? Because I was going to say, so while you're laying there, imagining the bazooka, blowing up, all the bad guys. What? I didn't, traditionally, I mean, my grandmother used to like hospital food because
Oh
she
my
didn't have to
gosh.
cook. She didn't have to cook.
Yeah.
She'd go, "Oh, this is delicious." I go, "Grandma,
Oh my
as long as
goodness.
I don't have to cook."
Yeah.
But
Well,
did you have any other, special diet or anything, supplements? I know you said juicing, but was there anything else you added to your protocol?
that is such a good question as well, because the nurses knew I was an athlete and that I eat basically pure. I don't,
Mm.
the whole diet, the dietary department in whatever medical facility you're at is, I'm not sure if I would agree with any of it. The nurses
Right.
started bringing me in fruit, fresh vegetables cut up. They were so sweet. I think they might have snuck them in there because I couldn't eat that garbage.
Right.
It's loaded with carbs, and with cancer, they used to say don't eat sugar. Sugar thrives and helps
Right.
cancer
Right.
continue to grow. And they promote sugar in
Wow.
hospitals. The food is
Oh
just
yeah.
it's really bad. So people brought food in. I
Huh.
was in the hospital a lot. Uh,
Right.
I,
Well, that's good.
I don't know. I lost so much weight, but then I gained weight after when they diagnosed me with lupus because of the chemo. And then I probably gained 30 pounds from just all the
Really?
meds. Yeah.
Wasn't that a strategy for Jay would have you do on your for your runs too? Didn't you like gain
Yeah.
weight anticipating you were going to lose weight?
That's, yes, good memory. Each run I gained somewhere between 12 and 14 pounds
Right.
for reserves, because I had read about a guy who ran across America, and he was lean and ready to go. He was in the hospital 300 miles into his run getting IV uh, electrolyte replacement. And so I thought, well, I should eat everything in sight because I'm going to lose a lot of weight on this run. Plus, it's hot. And
Right,
that's what I
right.
did for every run, and that worked. And people would
Oh,
say,
good.
"Oh, you're not like emaciated," but that was because I started out a couple sizes too bigger than usual.
A little chubby.
Yeah, and that again, that was a key ingredient to my success for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I would be on the highway with a half gallon of ice cream, just eating it as I'm walking along,
Oh
and that was
no,
great.
don't get me thinking about that. That is one of the Jones family Achilles heel. I
Ah,
have this thing where there's like
mine
an
too.
expiration. There's an expiration date. Lynn used to hide ice cream because if we had some sort of normal portion or something like that, and then there was anything left over, I would literally like wake up out of a sleep at 2 in the morning, and I would find the extra ice cream and eat it. So she
Mm.
had all these techniques of hiding it in different packages and stuff so that she
Oh
could
my
keep it
gosh,
more than a
that's so
day.
funny. That is a good
Okay.
strategy.
Um, all right. So I started. I have this program for kids and stuff, and I started this whole a few months ago about intergenerational connections.
Mhm.
Um, Not just being a grandparent that um, you know sends a card or gifts or
Right.
shows up for the holiday, right? Somebody that you come along alongside your own child as they're raising. You don't want to be a parent again, but you want to be there in a support way. The conversation, and you mentioned your oldest, your granddaughter is 10, and they say that like kids between 12 and 15 that have a good relationship or with their grandparent are more likely, no matter how good their relationship is with their own parents, that if they have something really difficult and challenging, they're more likely to talk to their grandma or grandpa about it. And so like with that in mind, are you doing anything like intentional with your grands? I know I see pictures of you, but what's your take on being a grandma?
Oh my gosh, it's a blessing. I love it so much, and I love them. But I'm so proud. My other son is married, doesn't have kids.
Okay.
Danny, the dad to these beautiful humans. It's really wonderful to see them, and Danny, his wife Erin, parenting these amazing. They are so blessed, and I love that whole family of four. That unit is they're tight, and it's really wow. I never had grandparents, but I wanted to make sure I'm going to be a good one, and we have so much fun, and they truly believe, as I do, that when I moved here closer to a mile from them, that they saved me and made me
Hmm.
better, is what they say, and I know they did. Our first summer, we did everything. Danny would call my son, "Where are you guys at?" We're like, "Well, we're at so and so," and he's like, "What? That's a mile and a half somewhere."
Right.
Um, but I love that my granddaughter is 10 and she is a total girly girl, not competitive at all. And so we do the whole nail salon and makeup, all those things. And then Landon is total boy athlete. And the other
Right.
day, and we go to the gym and I love it. And the other day he was on a machine. I mean, he's 8, but he's a huge kid and he already knows. He grew up basically in a gym. But he was on a machine. He yells across the weight room. He's like, "Grandma, grandma." And everybody stopped what they're doing, looking around like, who brought their grandma? What is this kid yelling? And then I walked over, and then this one, it was all these big muscle guys. And the guy's
Right.
like, "Here is grandma." Like, yeah. So
Yeah.
the other day when I was at the gym, just doing my thing, I hear grandma, and I look over. It's this guy, on the squat rack or squat machine. Don't know guy at all, big muscle guy. He's like, Grandma, come here. Hey, he was there
I
when
need a
Landon was
spot. Oh,
young.
that's
It's
funny.
really super cute. They don't
It's
see
good.
me at, I think you don't see your grandparents as a certain age. You just,
Right.
and you're right about there's no filter. They know they could talk to you about anything, and it's really beautiful and
It
wonderful
is.
being a grandparent. It's amazing. I'm
Yep.
just
Yep.
blown away every day. They're so
Nice.
sweet. Yeah. And
All
so
right.
when one thing about when I ran, and my mom always taught us, and we grew up very poor. We'd had nothing. And I, there were six of us and a dog. And so she was working all the time. But she taught us always to help those less fortunate. There's always somebody less fortunate, kind of like illness. There's always somebody sicker. And
Yeah.
that was another reason to run in the locations that I ran. That there, I wanted to just reach back and pull people up, and just to show them that they matter to me, and that's what I did or tried to do, as be
Right.
an
And there's just so
example
many that are.
of just
There's
the
just so many
humanity
people
we're
that are.
supposed to be. Really, it's our privilege and our beauty.
Right. But the other side of it is if you haven't been around people that don't have much, you you have this concept of them. Uh, you kind of judge, why are they there, what happened to them, what's wrong with them. But the flip side is that their spirit. I mean, it's not an economic thing. Life is not just economics, right? It's their ability to adapt and get by with
Absolutely.
for whatever, right? Because we're born into different situations, and by the grace of God, we've survived this long. But everybody's got challenges. Everybody's got different situations that they have to deal with. But you're talking about going into a whole environment and and just being that outside voice to encourage them and stuff, and all. So that's a wonderful thing. So I'm going to talk about your
It
memoir.
is, and
Let's when is this
all
memoir
right.
coming out? Because by the time we launch this thing, I'm guessing it
Well,
might
you
already
want me to
be
talk about it?
out. Yeah, just give us a highlight on it.
Oops. It is. It was the most difficult thing I ever did. It was challenging to write because, well, I had to live it through this writing. Every day touched some emotion in me. It was really difficult. And now I know why people said, "Oh my gosh, how did you do what you did?" And while I was writing it, I'm like, I don't even know how I did this. Um,
Right.
it's encompasses the whole 9 years, 50 states, almost 14,000 miles, and it's just a beautiful story of, imagine running almost 14,000 miles, and every mile somebody cared about you, and that's who we are. I really
Hmm.
wanted to expose that there's more good than we ever imagined, and I believe I did. It doesn't matter where the walk of life, or everybody just wanted to belong to something. And I don't think there's anything more inspirational than seeing somebody do something that other people said can't be done. And
Right.
they get inspired by people that had so much adversity or so many bumps in the road that they're like, well, I think I'll try this or that. And that's my
Yeah. Yeah.
one son, my Stephen, my oldest, interviewed, and I think for a magazine or something. And the person asked, "What do you think of your mom doing all this crazy stuff. And yet the best answer, we don't think anything really. That's all we know. She's been doing this our whole life. So we just say, okay, see ya, keep in
Yeah.
touch. And that was
Yeah. Yeah.
right. That was exactly, that's all they know. That is all they know.
Right.
This crazy woman that birthed me is out running the highway.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the book, I try to really showcase. It's not. It is kind of. I mean, it is running, but it's not about. Oh, I have a blister. My toenail fell off. It is about showing others, presenting the goodness of the people in the country. So I went to find my mother's spirit and my brother's, and I ended up finding my country and the people in it. And we're so much
Nice.
better together. And there is a lot of division, unfortunately. And love does conquer all and should be our compass, not ridiculousness, because we're all in this together. And I wish people would know that. While I was out there running in some really awful places, that people, we don't know who they are. They're on the fringe, suffering, and even in nice suburbia. But the whole time I was thinking, there's not one person that I can think of like that in Washington, D.C., making laws or suggesting
Hmm.
laws that represents one person I've met on this run.
Right. Yeah.
And
It's
we are the true fabric of our country, everyday people.
right. Yep.
It's so that's
I
what
agree.
kept me out there. I went running for certain reasons, but I stayed out there because I wanted to prove, because I would tell people, hey, I ran from here to here. Oh, well, yeah, but over here they're not nice, or over here they're the number one capital of drugs. And so I ran there too to prove that. And I ended up
Right.
running in all 50 states to prove that there's so much more good than we even open our eyes to see. You know,
Yeah.
if we see each other, then we know what's in our heart.
And
That's
there's
what
no
I
way you could
believe.
have run. There's no way you could have run this whole country with your head down like this, looking at something held in your hand. You always had to look up and look
Right.
forward, right? And that in itself is a
Absolutely.
message for everybody.
Exactly right, Ron.
But anyway, so let's
And
wrap this up.
there's more people. Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
No, there's always somebody around the corner, down the street, the next town, the next state that needs some inspiration or that needs just to be acknowledged. That's all.
Yep, yep, yep. Anyway, okay. So, Helene, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
I know everyone enjoyed. I'm sure everyone's going to enjoy this episode, and that they got some takeaways that they can use in their lives. So, I'm going to post in the whatever that goes underneath this podcast a where they can get your book. I'm guessing Amazon for sure, and also your
No,
website.
it's
I'll
going to be
post all that
website.
information.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Not
And then
Amazon.
not
Yeah. Is your
Amazon?
book on Amazon? Yeah.
Of course.
Amazon, the
Anyway,
benefit to the writer, unless you're going to sell a lot of copies,
right,
it's not fiscally, I guess, good idea.
right. Yeah,
So
I got you.
it'll be
So
on
okay,
the
yeah, we'll
website.
definitely post, where they can get a copy and right on your website and also, where they can follow you on social media, Facebook I follow you on, so I don't know if you're on any other places, but we'll post that too. So all that information will be there. And I'm
Okay,
just going
good.
to ask everybody that's listening today to please share this with your friends and Don't forget all my stuff at russelljonespeaks.com. If you're a parent or grandparent or mentor to a 10 to 15-year-old, check out our 60-day transformational interactive video series, Top Secrets of Success for Kids and Parents. And in the words of the inimitable Hulk Hogan, say your prayers, take your vitamins, and you'll never go wrong. Then you can all go and make it a great day. Bye for now.
Yeah. Thank you.